Hi everyone, this is Helloangel.design. Today I am going to show you how to make this beautiful dress step-by-step tutorial. This dress has a bow at the chest line and inserted pleat at the center of the dress making, and at the center back we have a button loop at the center back. This is how the dress will look once you have done making yours. And today we are going to be using this fabric to make this dress, and the center back also with a button loop. To be able to make this dress, what you are going to do, you are going to purchase my paid pattern paper. The purpose why I have not been able to upload video is that I have been working on this pattern paper for quite some time, and it's finally here. So it's a paid pattern paper and it's affordable. When you purchase the pattern paper, first thing that you're going to do, you are going to download the pattern paper on your computer. When you download the pattern paper on your computer, what you're going to do, you first print this part out. When you print it out, make sure you check the scale right here. Right here is 5 centimeter or 2 inch. The small square right here is 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter. So make sure that the measurement is correct. You can go ahead and print out the rest of the pattern. So this is how the pattern paper is once you purchase the pattern and once you put it together and you also cut it out. On my next video, I will be showing you guys how to put your pattern paper together. When you put your pattern paper together, we have different pieces that you are going to cut out. So you have, this is the bow tie right here, and this is for the bow. This is for the front top. And this is the chest plate. This is the front inserted plate. And this is also for the front. And this is for the front. And this is the back. So you can cut this for the lining. And you also cut this for the lining. That is front lining and back lining. So first thing that we have to do, we are going to place it on our fabric and cut out our pattern. So this is my fabric. I'm using this cotton fabric, and I have 2 different kinds of fabric right here. You can use any fabric that is inside your fabric to create a design for this dress. So what we are going to do, I am going to pin my back pattern on my fabric, and I'm going to take you to the next step. First thing that you are going to do, you fold your fabric into 2. My fabric is folded into 2. You pick your back pattern. For this dress, we are going to attach a button loop at the center back. So what you are going to do, this 3 centimeter seam allowance for the zipper or buttonhole, we are going to fold it inside. You just pick your pattern like this. You fold it along this line right here. You can see the line all the way down. You just fold it all the way down. I have folded in, and then you place your pattern on your fabric. Make sure that when you place your pattern paper on your fabric, it's going to be on fold at the center back. Place it like this at the center back of your fabric. Take your pin, just pin the pattern on your fabric all around. Once you have done that, you will take your scissors and cut it out. The next thing that you have to do, you are going to place this front on your fabric. Make sure your fabric is folded into 2. For this part of the pattern, we are going to cut 2 pieces. Place it like this. Take your pin. You just pin it all around. Once you have done that, take your scissors and cut it out. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to pin our main front pattern on our fabric. So you folded your fabric into 2. My fabric is folded into 2. I will pick my pattern and I will place it like this. Make sure that your pattern is on the fold hand side. What you are going to do, you take your pin it all around, and then you take your scissors, you cut it out. The next thing that you have to do, you are going to pick out this other part of the pattern that you are going to use to design the dress that you are making. So what you are going to do, this is the front inserted pleat, and this is the chest placket. This is for the bow, and this is for the bow tail. So what you are going to do, you are going to pin them on your fabric like this. You are going to cut just 1 pieces, and this one you will cut 1 pieces. For the bow, you are going to place this side on fold. So what I'm going to do, I am going to pin this on my fabric right here. Once I am done pinning, I will take my scissors and cut it out. Next pattern that we are going to cut the bow pattern. So this is it. This side you're going to place it on fold. My fabric is folded into 2. Place it like this, pin it all around, take your scissors and cut it out. Before you pin your pattern paper on your lining, what you are going to do, you have to shorten the pattern paper, because for me, when I usually make dresses, I always want my lining to be shorter than my made fabric. So what I'm going to do, I am going to place my measuring tape. I will place it on my pattern. I'm going to measure inside 4 centimeters. If you're using inches, you can measure 1.5 inch. Once you measure inside, take your ruler and connect the mark together. Make sure to also take the same measurement for the front pattern. I have taken the measurement. What I'm going to do, I am going to fold my pattern inside like this. You just fold it inside. Once you have done with that, place your pattern paper on your fabric. Make sure that the back is on fold, the front is on fold. What you are going to do, take your pin it all around. Once you have done pinning, take your scissors and cut it out. Also repeat the same process with the front pattern. I have cut out my fabric. This is how it is. I'm just going to go through it one more time so that you can understand how we can put this dress together. So this is my inverted pleat fabric, and this is my bow fabric. This is for the bow tie, to tie the bow. This is my front fabric, the made fabric. This is the front, and this is the back. And I've also cut out my lining. The lining, the front is on fold. You can see that. And the back is also on fold. This is for the front. The front we cut 2 pieces. And this is how I cut out the fabric, by using my pattern paper to cut out the fabric. Please support me by purchasing the pattern paper. What we are going to do, we are going to put the dress together. First thing that you have to do, take the front dress. When you cut out your fabric, make sure you give it a notch. This will be the center front, while this is the side seam. So I have given it a notch right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. I just want to mention that so that you understand how to put your dress together. Once you have done that, you open your fabric like this. This is the front of my fabric. And you take the inverted pleat. Before you place this part on your fabric, what you are going to do, take it to an ironing board, iron interfacing at the back of your fabric. Once you have done with that, you are going to pin it on your fabric. You pin it all the way down like this. This is the front, that is the center front, and this side is also on the center front, while this side and the side seam. So I will take my pin and I will pin it down. I have pinned it down. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine, stitch it all the way down, and come to this other side, stitch it all the way down. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. So when you look at the fabric, you can see that this side is excess. There is no panic. That is how I make the pattern paper. I don't want in a way that this inverted pleat is shorter, so I decided to make it a little bit longer. So when you print out your pattern paper and you realize that this part is longer, do not panic. That is how I make the pattern. So you go ahead and stop stitch. Once you have done stitching, take it to your overlocker, overlock the both raw edges. Once you have done overlocking the raw edges, take it to your ironing board, give it a good press. The next thing that you have to do, you take your bow fabric. I have also iron interfacing at the back of my bow fabric. So what you are going to do, you put them together like this, and you are going to top stitch. You are going to stitch from here to here, back stitch at the beginning, back stitch at the end. You leave a gap, you stop stitch from here to here, back stitch at the beginning, back stitch at the end. Once you have done that, I will show you how to top stitch this part of the fabric together. Once you have done that, you put this together. That is the bow tie. You go ahead and stitch it all the way down. Once you have done stitching, turn it inside out, take it to an ironing board and give it a good press. The next thing that you have to do, you take the back dress. So this is the back of my dress, and this is the made fabric. You take your lining, so you are going to put them together. The way to put them together, make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. You are going to stitch around the both armhole and neckline. Once you have done stitching, take your scissors, snip around the both armhole and neckline. I have stitched it together. This is how it is once you have done that. And I've also stitched my bow. You can see the gap right here. And my bow tail, this is how it is. I turn it inside out, make sure that the seam is in between the fabric. And I've also stitched my button loop. I take it to my ironing board, I give it a good press. So you push the seam towards the made fabric and you go ahead and top stitch all the way down. You repeat the same process on this side. You push the seam towards the made fabric. You go ahead and top stitch all the way down. Once you have done that, you take your bow. Remember, we haven't finished stitching the bow. So what you are going to do, you open the seam. So you just go ahead and open the seam that you have top stitch. This is the center crease. You put them together like this. I will secure this with a pin. What you are going to do, go ahead and give it a top stitch all the way down. Come down to this other side, you repeat the same thing. Open the seam, push it to the center crease right there. You take your pin, you pin it in place and give it a top stitch. Once you have done that, you take this part of the fabric. This is the chest pleat that you are going to put together. All you have to do, you're going to fold it into two like this. You stitch it all the way down. Once you have done stitching, turn it inside out, take it to an ironing board and give it a good press. When you are pressing, make sure that the seam is in between the fabric, just the way this is. This is our back top dress that we have stitched. I have stitched around the both armhole and the neckline. This is how it looks, and I haven't turned it inside out. What we are going to do, we are going to take a measurement at the center back. So what you are going to do, you place your measuring tape like this from where you stitch. This is my stitch line right here. Place your measuring tape, take a measurement of 11 centimeter is right here. If you're using inches, you can measure 4.25 inch. This is my 11 centimeter right here. Once you have done that, what you are going to do, you are going to take your scissors and cut it down to that 11 centimeter or 4.25 inch. I have cut it to that 11 centimeter or 4.25 inch. What you are going to do, you pick your bottle loop. So I will just secure this with a pin. What you are going to do, you are going to push it inside. So you open your dress like this. You just place it inside the dress. Make sure that the raw edges is coming out from the center back. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I'll go ahead and stitch it around. Once I am done with that, I will then turn my fabric inside out, take it to my ironing board and give it a good press. I have given it a top stitch on both sides. This is how it is. What you are going to do when you are ironing your fabric, so this is the center crease of my fabric. So you push this side into that center crease and you push this other side into the center crease and you give it a good press. This is how it will look. Once you have done that, you can see the excess right here and then you can go ahead and cut out the excess of the fabric. So what you are going to do, you are going to take your dress to your sewing machine. You are going to give it a top stitch so that you secure this part together. This is my bow fabric. I have turned it inside out. You see the gap that we left open. That is where you will turn your fabric inside out. And I've also stitched this part of the fabric together and I put the seam in between the fabric. This is how it is. And I've stitched the center back together. I just turn it inside out, give it a good press. This is how the back of your dress will look. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to make a bow on our fabric. Before you do that, take it to your ironing board, fold it into two so that you have a crease in between the fabric. Once you have done that, the next thing that you have to do, you are going to thread your needle. So you are going to place it on your fabric like this. You just keep passing it in and out the center crease like this. Once you have done that, you go ahead and pull the thread and tie a knot. I have make my bow. This is how it is. The next thing that you have to do, you take your bow tie, you place it like this. Make sure that the seam is facing you. Place it around the bow like this. Take it to your sewing machine and top stitch. And I've also stitched my bow together. And this is the excess. All you have to do, you take your scissors, you cut out the excess. Once you have done that, you just go ahead and turn the fabric inside out like this. I have turned it inside out. This is how it is. Once you have done that, the next thing that we have to do, we are going to take our front dress. So this is it, and I've also stitched it together. You can see I just give it a top stitch right there. This is how it will look once you have done that. So then you take this part of the front, you are going to join them together. So this is the center point of my front dress. I give it a notch right there. You just put them together like this. Make sure that the center front is at the center front of your plate. Secure that with a pin. Once you have done that, all you have to do, you are going to pin from this side to this side. You pin from this side to the other side. I have pinned it together. This is how it looks. Once you have done pinning, take it to your sewing machine. You go ahead and give it a top stitch all the way down. Once you have done stitching, take it to your overlocker, overlock the raw edges. I have stitched it together. This is how it is. I take it to my overlocker, overlock the raw edges. Make sure you push the seam towards the top bodice and you press it very nicely. This is how it will look. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to place this on the dress like this. Place it like this and you take your pin to secure them together all around. I have used my pin to secure them together. The next thing that you have to do, you are going to top stitch. When you are top stitching, you are going to stitch on both sides. You stitch it all the way down and you come to this other side, you stitch it all the way down. Once you have done stitching, trim out the excess. I have top stitch on both sides. This is how it is, and I've trimmed out the excess of the fabric. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to attach our bow on the dressmaking. You place it like this and you take your pin just to secure the bow and the dress together like this. I have used my pin to secure the bow together. The next thing that you have to do, you are going to top stitch. So you go ahead, you top stitch right here, not long stitches. You just top stitch inside and on this side so that you secure the bow on the dress. I have stitched my bow on my dress. This is how it looks once you have done that. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to place our lining on top of our dress. Make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. We are going to stitch around the both armhole and neckline. Once you have done stitching, trim a little bit out from the seam allowance and take your scissors, snip around the curved area of the both armhole and neckline. I have stitched around the both armhole and the neckline. The next thing that we have to do, you just open your dress like this, and this is the front of my dress and this is the back of my dress, which I turn it inside out. The front, I have not turned it inside out. So what we are going to do, we are going to put the shoulder of the back inside the front of our dressmaking. To do that, you place your pin at one of the shoulder like this and you pass it through this shoulder. Once you have passed it through, you remove your pin. All you have to do, you just position your shoulder properly. Once you have put them together like this, you take your pin, you secure that in place. And then you go ahead, you repeat the same thing on the other shoulder. Place your pin inside your shoulder like this and pass it through the other shoulder. I have used my pin to secure the both shoulder together. What I'm going to do, I will take it to my sewing machine and stitch it with 1 centimeter seam allowance. I have trimmed a little bit out from the seam allowance. What I'm going to do, I will just open my dress and pull out the shoulder. This is how the shoulder of my dress is right now. The next thing that you have to do, we are going to put the side seam of our dress together. All you have to do, you pick it like this. This is my made fabric and this is the back. You put them together like this. Lining facing each other, made fabric facing each other. You are going to pin the both side seam. Once you have done pinning, take it to your sewing machine and top stitch. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. I have stitched the side seam of my dress. This is how it is once you have done that, and this is how the dress look. It look really beautiful. The next thing that you are going to do, you are going to hem your dress. Fold inside 1 centimeter seam allowance, fold it again 1.5 seam allowance, and top stitch around. You repeat the same thing with your lining. You fold inside 1 centimeter and then you fold it again 1.5 centimeter and top stitch around. Once you have done that, you can use the opportunity to stitch your button at the center back. The way I am going to hem my lining, I'm going to use the lace to hem my lining. So what I'm going to do, I will place the lace on my lining like this. I'll make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. I will top stitch around and then I will fold it again and I will top stitch the second time. I will show you that on my sewing machine. And then I will come back here and show you the final look of my dress making. This is the final look of my dressmaking. It is beautiful step-by-step tutorial. I have hemmed my dress. This is how it is once you have hemmed your dress. And I've also hemmed the lining. I used my lace to design the lining. This is how it looks. And also I have stitched my button at the center back. This is the final look. It is beautiful and it is step-by-step tutorial. Like this video, share this video with your friends and loved ones, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.